It's honestly getting exhausting watching CM Punk come back to WWE only to get treated like a walking punchline instead of the guy who built his career by defying this same company's arrogance. Every week, it's the same story. Punk walks out, gets the pop, cuts the best promo of the night, everyone remembers why they missed him, and then the creative team finds a way to make him look smaller by the end of the show. It's like WWE brought him back not to celebrate him, but to prove a point that no one is bigger than their system. They can't let him win because letting him win would mean admitting they were wrong about him all those years ago. The company has spent so much time building a machine that protects its image that the idea of CM Punk standing tall threatens the whole thing. His wins would validate everything he ever said about how this place doesn't reward talent, it rewards loyalty to management. From the moment he returned, the writing was on the wall. The promos, the backstage interviews, the commentary, all of it built around how much he's changed. Like they're trying to rewrite the narrative before the fans can decide for themselves. They don't want the rebellious, unfiltered CM Punk. They want a sanitized version of him who smiles, sells shirts, and does as he's told. But that version doesn't exist. Punk's entire career is built on not fitting in, and WWE hates people who don't fit into their system. That's why he keeps losing. It's not about who he faces in the ring, it's about what he represents backstage. Independence, authenticity, and the constant reminder that he doesn't need them as much as they need him. They can't stand that, so they book him into corners where he looks like a loser just to keep their own egos intact. Look at how they've handled his feuds since his return. He's been thrown into programs that should have been classics, only to get buried under bad booking and cheap finishes. When he faced Seth Rollins, fans expected a generational story about respect, legacy, and redemption. Instead, we got promos that made Punk look bitter and old, while Rollins was treated like the franchise face of WWE. Punk should have walked out of that feud as the guy who still proves he's on top, but instead he was just another obstacle to make Rollins look stronger. WWE loves pretending to respect veterans, but when it's time to put them in meaningful spots, they're used to make others look good. Then came the John Cena program, which could have been something special. Two of the most polarizing figures in wrestling history finally facing off again after years of bad blood. Fans expected fireworks. What they got was Punk being portrayed as an ungrateful has-been, while Cena played the corporate hero one more time. WWE knew exactly what they were doing. They fed the same narrative that drove Punk out of the company the first time. The guy who speaks truth gets painted as a villain, and the company man who plays it safe gets glorified. And of course, Punk didn't win, because in WWE's world, truth tellers don't win. Company loyalists do. Even outside the ring, the company finds ways to undermine him. The Saudi Arabia incident was a perfect example. Punk makes one mistake years ago, and instead of quietly moving on, WWE turns it into a storyline moment where he has to apologize publicly. They framed it like a redemption moment. But let's be honest, it was humiliation disguised as PR control. They made him apologize to a crowd that was already booing him just to show that he's not untouchable. That wasn't about storytelling. That was about reminding everyone who runs the show. It was WWE flexing their power over a guy who once dared to walk out on them. They didn't care about his apology being sincere. They cared about making him kneel. And while all this happens, Triple H smiles in interviews about how proud he is of Punk's growth. It's the fakest kind of praise possible. They talk about him like he's some troubled kid who's finally behaving. That's not respect, that's manipulation. They're rewriting his legacy in real time, trying to make fans forget that CM Punk was one of the biggest stars of an era that didn't need WWE's approval to matter. Every time he loses, they chip away at his legacy a little more, hoping people will start to see him as just another aging veteran who couldn't keep up. The sad part is, the fans can see right through it. Every arena still chants his name. You know, every crowd still reacts louder for him than for half the roster. That's what drives WWE insane. They can't silence the crowd, but they can control the narrative, so they make him lose. They book him to fail in ways that don't make sense, hoping the momentum dies naturally. But it never does, because CM Punk's appeal doesn't come from winning. It comes from making people believe he should. Yet even that burns WWE up, because they can't handle that his value comes from authenticity, not branding. Watch the patterns. Whenever someone from outside their system gets over on their own terms, WWE finds ways to cool them off. Punk is the poster child for that. Cody Rhodes left, came back, and was immediately booked as a hero because he learned to play nice. CM Punk came back, spoke his mind, and they've been cutting him down ever since. They can tolerate rebellion only if it's controlled rebellion. Punk doesn't play that game, and that's why he'll never get the wins he deserves. The moment he starts gaining real momentum, creative steps in to remind him who's in charge. That's not coincidence. That's control. And the irony is, Punk doesn't even need to win all the time. He's never been that kind of performer. He just needs to be treated like he matters, like his matches mean something. But WWE can't even give him that. Instead, they make him lose in ways that strip away the emotional weight. Losses can tell stories when they're earned, but his aren't earned. They're convenient. Every loss feels like an executive decision rather than a natural result of storytelling. You can feel the politics dripping from every finish. It's not about the match. It's about who gets the final say. When Punk cuts a promo, you can tell he still believes in wrestling as art. He's trying to tell stories about real emotion, real struggle, real people. WWE turns everything into marketing. They take his words, his passion, and use it to sell tickets, but never to elevate him. He's the most talked about guy on the roster, yet he's constantly written like an afterthought. That's not a coincidence. That's deliberate narrative suppression. They're afraid that if he starts winning, fans will rally behind him again the way they did before, and suddenly WWE's carefully crafted hierarchy falls apart. They've built this company around the idea that only their chosen stars get to be heroes. Punk was never chosen. He forced them to acknowledge him once, and now they're making sure it never happens again. The second he got too popular again, they started planting doubt, calling him divisive, saying he's injury prone, hinting that he's difficult to work with. It's the same playbook they've used against every outsider who gained too much control over their own narrative. Make the audience question them, make them look unstable, and then justify why they keep losing. It's cowardly, but it works. And don't buy the excuse that he's too old or past his prime. That's corporate spin. Punk still gets louder reactions than most of the locker room, still cuts better promos, still has the ability to carry storylines. The reason he's not winning isn't age, it's politics. WWE doesn't want him to look like a hero because it contradicts the story they're trying to tell about the company's evolution. They want fans to think the new generation has surpassed him, but every time Punk touches a mic, he proves he's still the best storyteller in the business. So instead of letting him show that in victories, they make him lose and hope fans forget the difference. The thing is, fans don't forget. Every loss builds resentment. Every time he gets close and they pull it away, people remember the old days when WWE did the same thing to Daniel Bryan or to Punk himself during the pipe bomb era. It's the same mentality on control the rebellion before it becomes too powerful. Punk is dangerous because he inspires belief, and WWE doesn't like anyone who makes fans believe in something other than the brand itself. They'll give him TV time, but not the satisfaction of triumph. They'll use him for buzz, but never for genuine elevation. What's worse is that Punk keeps trying to play along, at least publicly. He apologizes, he toes the line, he does interviews where he sounds like he's being diplomatic, but the truth leaks through in his eyes, in the pauses between his words. You can see the frustration. He knows they're using him, he knows they're never going to give him what he's earned, but he's too professional to quit again because he knows that's exactly what they want. They want him to walk away so they can say he couldn't handle it. They want to prove he's the problem. That's the real reason he doesn't win. If they let him win, it validates his worldview. If they keep him losing, it validates theirs. Fans see through it though. When he walks down that ramp, they don't chant because of nostalgia. They chant because he represents every person who's ever been shut out by a system that values compliance over talent. He's the one guy who doesn't belong to them, and that's why he'll always be a threat. WWE can give him 1,000 losses, but every time his music hits, it's proof they failed to bury him. Still, that doesn't make it less infuriating to watch him lose matches that should have been his moments. You watch him put everything into a performance, only for the company to script him into irrelevance, and you can't help but feel the bitterness. Every match he loses now feels like a message. It's not just a defeat, it's punishment. They make sure he looks strong enough to stay relevant, but never strong enough to matter. They want him in limbo. Always talked about, never trusted. It's psychological warfare disguised as booking. The longer it goes on, the more it starts feeling personal. The guy carried this business on his back during a time when people stopped believing in it, and now the same company that drove him away is cashing in on his legacy while rewriting it. It's disgusting. The whole situation reeks of corporate insecurity. WWE doesn't hate CM Punk because he's bad for business. They hate him because he exposes how hollow their system is. He's proof that charisma, storytelling, and honesty still mean more to fans than scripted nonsense and social media campaigns. He's a walking contradiction to everything they've built their empire on. That's why he never wins, because his victory is their defeat. Every time he succeeds, it reminds people that wrestling used to be about the wrestlers, not the brand. And WWE can't let that memory live, so they'll keep making him lose. They'll keep feeding him to their golden boys, keep making him apologize, keep reminding him who's boss. But the joke's on them, because every time he shows up, people still care. You can't bury authenticity. You can't script passion. Punk might not be winning matches, but he's still winning the only thing that matters, the fans' belief. And deep down, that's what drives WWE crazy. They can control his outcomes, but they can't control how people feel when he talks, when he fights, when he refuses to disappear. That's why they'll never stop trying to break him, and that's why it's infuriating watching him lose, because every loss isn't just about the scoreboard. It's about a company still trying to crush the one man they couldn't own, and no matter how many times they script him to fall short, everyone watching knows what's really happening. It's not CM Punk losing to another wrestler, it's CM Punk losing to the machine. But machines don't last forever. When people finally get tired of the fake smiles and manufactured stars, they'll remember who stood up and told the truth. They'll remember CM Punk, and that's one victory WWE can never take away from him, no matter how many times they book him to lose.